Okay, welcome replay viewers, and good afternoon everybody. And we put our first cluster of martin houses up this morning. It was a little too windy to run the camera at that time, but I'm going to show you what's going on here in a little bit. We're going to go get the plastic gourds and the trays which go inside the houses. So we'll show you all of that operation. Let me just move a little bit closer. Let's try that. I have my iPhone on a tripod, and the tripod is weighted down. Okay, I'll be back in a few minutes' time.
goodness.
Okay. Let's see who's with us. Let's see if anyone joined us. See if I can read the comments. Okay. Not right at the moment, but first things first.
Okay.
Give you the wing nuts. Okay, well, Andrea, how are you? Good to see you. And I'm going to show you, all right, so the house is set up. I'm going to show you what we're going to attach right now. We have these 11-inch diameter plastic gourds that take the place of natural gourds. I'll just put this in front of the camera. Yeah, let me hold it out here. You can see that. And you have this 4-inch cap that goes on there. And we stuff this gourd with dried pine needles. They're called pine straw. Kind of like the stuff you see down there when they have the US Open golf tournament in Georgia under the pine trees. So it's a dried out pine where there's no sap or anything that can get into the bird's feathers. All right, so the martin will go through the crescent opening or the half moon opening, and he can squeeze through there, but that keeps out starlings. This is called a starling resistant entrance hole, or SREH, and they work very, very well here. I've had no problems with starlings penetrating martin nests since I switched over to these crescent openings many, many years ago. And as you can see, there's a porch on the outside. And I don't know if you can see this by me holding it like this, but there's a porch on the inside also. So the martins will go in here inside this gourd, and they will build their nest on top of the starter pine needles that we put in there. So this gets closed up for the season, like so, and I want to thread this carefully so I don't cross thread it. Start. There we go. So that's what it will look like. That's a gourd, 11-inch super gourd, and these are very popular with the purple martins. As a matter of fact, the first mature birds that come up here in the spring will always go for these gourds first before they go for the house cavities. So let me start hanging these, and you'll see how these get placed on the rack over here. Just wanted to show you the inside of this cap. You make a little grommet there to keep the rainwater out of it. This is just heavy-duty rubber that I got in a hardware store years ago and cut them to these circles. So in other words, a cap washer, and it keeps rain from penetrating the gourd. And it also seals the cap very snugly. So here again, another super gourd. Here again, if we can see this in there, it's filled with the dry pine needles, and the martins will add to this. I have a tray that stands on top of a post. That'll be going in the ground a little later in the season, and I fill the top of that tray with pine needles, and when the martins are into their nesting, they'll fly down from their nests and grab additional pine needles to replenish their cavity nests. But Jean has filled all of these gourds. There's a fill line on the side of the gourd. It tells you fill it up to that level. And this also helps. Well, first of all, the bird is going to build the nest on top of that, but it also gives him traction to get in and out, really to get out of the gourd, because obviously the inside of these things are very slippery. So when they need to come back out of the gourd, they have the traction in the pine needles to do that. These are all the tricks of the trade that you learn trial and error over the years. And I've been hosting purple martins here for about 40 years now, so I think we have it down pretty good, the way it should be done. Certainly the birds come back here year after year. So let's see how this looks to you on the camera there. All right, so that's the gourd, and they hang on stainless steel hangers, racks that attach to the bottom of the gourd. And I'll just hold this up. Then you have these little clevis pins that you put through the stainless steel rod to keep the gourd from working its way off the rod. The trays, and I'm going to explain to my friends what the trays are all about.
Alright. Show them how to swirl it.
Okay, well, okay, so there's the house with the 4 gourds hanging from the bottom. Yeah, the same birds do come back. If they nest successfully here, then the mature birds, in other words the ones that are into their 3rd year of nesting, they will come back to the very same site. It's called site fidelity. So with a little bit of luck, a mature purple martin will live 8 to 10 years. You know, obviously they have to survive a round trip to Brazil and back every year. But once they successfully nest here and breed here at this site, they will return the following year. Now here is a tray. These are slide-in trays, and you see we put the nesting material in there. We swirl the pine needles, and what will happen in these trays, which go into the house cavities, the birds will make it into a swirled nest. They'll add additional pine needles to the top, And they will also pick off green leaves off of the tops of trees surrounding here, and they will freshen these nests with green leaves. The thought is that the leaves help eliminate parasites and mites and things of that nature. So here we go. We're going to load these trays in the cavities now, and these are all trays that I made over the years. This is some plastic type material which I used on the sides. Most of them I have are wood, but I had this plastic material that a friend gave me years ago, and that helps out with cleaning in the fall of the year when we clean out all the completed nests. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to show you, that this tray is about 11 inches deep, so it slides all the way to the back of the cavity of the purple martin house cavity. And this little piece of wood on the front, I guess I'm showing that right. See, it keeps the martins nesting toward the back of the cavity. It helps them with predators. For instance, if an owl or a hawk or somebody were to land on the house, they could try to reach in and grab baby martins, but they really can't get that far back in with their claws and everything. And then also, when later on in the season, when the birds are big and they're ready to come out of the nest for their first flight, they'll sit up on this ledge and they'll flap their wings inside the nest, and they'll strengthen their wings that way and get ready for their first flight. So we're going to put all of these trays into the cavities now, and you can just watch us do that. There's 10 house cavities plus the 4 gourds, so there'll be a total of 14 nesting sites available per this house complex here. And then I have the other house complex which will be installed in a few days. So this year we're going to have a total of 28 cavities for nesting purple martins. put some covers on
I saw the covers in
some of these openings.
the but not all.
Not all, I'll leave half of them open. Take these. Okay, very good. I thank you very much. Appreciate your help.
You're welcome.
Beautiful day.
It is.
We'll check on the temperature here. Okay, gang, so that's the setup of the Purple Martin house. So that's the first of 2 Purple Martin complexes to go up for this season. Just let me swing over here and I'll show you what the other one. Right, there's the pole we did yesterday, and another day, the next warm day, we'll put the second house complex up. So let me zero in on that, and I want to show you one other thing here. I don't leave all of these cavities open right now because the birds are not here yet. So what we'll do is we'll cover at least half of the the wood house cavities with these electrical junction box covers, these little metal covers that you can buy in Home Depot or a hardware store or an electrical supply house. So that's a cover for a 4-inch electrical junction box, and I cover up the, as I say, half of the cavities, and that helps with sparrow infiltration at this time of year. Unfortunately, English weaver finches or house sparrows are the ones that will go in and try to take over a nest. As I mentioned, I have the crescent or the half moon openings, which have eliminated my starling penetration problem, but house sparrows can still fit in there, so we have to be careful with them. And they're the early nesters, house sparrows, so they'll build a nest in there in a day and lay 5 to 6 eggs. But when you see sparrow activity, you clean that out right away. But to help with that, then we'll cover up some of these cavities. And as more and more Purple Martins arrive over the next 4 to 6 weeks, we'll remove these metal covers and we'll open up more and more cavities. So you see me working over there now. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to install these plates over some of the openings. Okay, so that's the setup. There's a little bit more to do, but that'll be going on another day. I'll put what we call a predator guard on the bottom of the post in a few days. It keeps squirrels or raccoons or anybody climbing up in the pole, feral cats. But we don't need to do that yet. But it's basically whoa! Look at that. I have my tripod weighted down with a log in the bottom of a grocery bag, but the wind gust almost took the tripod over, tilted it over. So we can raise this up. I'll just show you a little bit of that. It goes up. So at the bottom of the house, the wooden house, is 12 feet above ground level. All right, so that's the ideal height here for the birds. And any higher than that, of course, then you have to start worrying about high winds and everything. So we'll raise that up to show you how that works, and then I'll lower it back down to this low position here. Let me just turn this tripod so it doesn't go over. I'll put the one leg of the tripod facing into the wind. Yeah, and it's a neat hobby, Andrea. It's more than a hobby, it's a passion. And purple martins, North America's largest swallow, are 99.9% dependent upon human supplied housing now, here east of the Rocky Mountains. There's a subspecies west of the Rockies along the California Pacific coast, up California, Oregon, and Washington, that still nest in natural cavities. But also what they've started to do out there is to actually nest inside the drainage holes of the freeway overpasses. So they've taken to those. But it's a purple martin, but it's a slightly smaller subspecies. But east of the Rocky Mountains, all of the North American purple martins are now dependent upon housing provided by us. And of course we're at close to the northern range of the martins here along the east coast. They do go up into New England for nesting purposes. They'll get us maybe as far north as southern coastal Maine, southern coastal New Hampshire. But Connecticut and Massachusetts, basically the far north as the bulk of them go. Here on Long Island. Now inland, they actually go further north. On the west side of the Appalachian Mountains, they will actually be all the way up into Ontario, Canada. And then in the center of the country, up the Mississippi Flyway, they'll go all the way to the Canadian border and then into the Canadian province there. It depends upon the climate conditions. But they've run out of natural habitat, almost all spaces, so they're dependent upon man-made housing now. And their numbers are pretty safe in the south, southeast, Florida, Georgia, Carolinas. But here in the northeast, their numbers are dwindling. So it's up to us to make sure we have all these houses up around here and other locations. Yeah, Canada, they do go all the way to Canada, southern Canada. Now I'm just going to crank up this house a little bit and then I'll lower that and you see how that works. It's a winch, we call a brake winch, with a 3/16 stainless steel cable, and it goes goes up over a pulley on the top of the pole. Let's see if I can tilt that up for you. See, all the way up at the top of the pole is a 3-inch pulley that the cable goes over the top of that pulley, and it pulls the house, the complex to get that's assembled as a 4-unit house complex. So let me just set that, and we'll go do that right now, show you that. Okay, that's about halfway up the post, and I have the post is self-marked with a magic marker at the 12-foot level, so I can tell when the bottom of the houses are at 12 feet above ground level. Let's just do this. See, actually it'll go a few feet higher than what you see there, but I'm not going to raise it up all the way now, and I'm going to drop it down until the first martins show up in the area here. Possibly as early as April 1st, maybe as late as April 15th, 17th. But I think this year they're going to be a little earlier than last year. Last year my first birds arrived April 17th, but I see from the tracking maps that they're already, the bulk of them are already further north than they were last year this time. They're in New Jersey, so I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we see the first purple martins arrive here within 7 to 10 days this season. That's why we want to be ready for them. So let me lower that back down. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll certainly be back on the air as soon as our first purple martins arrive to show everybody all of that, and we'll track their progress here this year. Beautiful day. Let me check the temperature for everybody. What's the temperature? What's your guess the temperature? 56?
That's my guess. I will.
Okay, Gene wins the temperature guessing contest. I guessed 57 or so here, and our thermometer over on the other side in the shade reads 63 right now here on the east end of Long Island. So good day for all. 64 in Elmhurst. Okay, 63 out here. Okay, good people, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration on how to set up Purple Martin houses. And again, stay safe. Everybody take good care of yourself now and do all you can do to avoid this virus and this plague. Be well, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody.